Merry Christmas, book nerds! So I have to tell you guys about one of the gifts Taylor got me. If you're new here, Taylor is my boyfriend, and we have one child together, but I'm pregnant with our second child, and we have talked about getting married someday, but right now it just doesn't work with timing. But to show me that he was serious about wanting to marry me someday, Taylor gave me a promise ring for Christmas, and I love it. I don't know if you can see it very well, if my camera will focus. Let's see. But it is beautiful. It is so beautiful. It has our birthstones in it. Mine is October, which is opal, and Taylor's is May, which is emerald. I am in love with it. I love my promise ring. I'm obsessed with it. It is so beautiful. And I love Taylor, and I just feel so blessed to have him. It is Christmas Day, and it's a Monday, so I'm going to post. And so today we're actually going to wrap up the year. I am calling it. I don't think I'm going to get through any more books this year, unfortunately. We do still have a few days left of the year, but I'm calling it. I am currently reading Agnes Grey by Anne Bronte. I have hardly had any time to read since I've started, and I'm only a few chapters into it. So I just am going to take it slow the rest of the year, and I will finish this one next year. So that means we need to look at all of my reading goals and see how I did. I'm going to give you my Goodreads stats, and then I will give you my book ranking for all the books that I read this year and tell you my book of the year. Let's start with my reading goals for 2023. I had 3 of them and kind of a bonus one. So the first one was that I should read 10 books this year, and oh my gosh, I completely destroyed that goal. I read 32 books this year, and that is because of my summer classes. They were insanity, and so yeah, I completely annihilated that goal. Completely annihilated it. I'm not going to list all 32 books right now because we will get to them at the end when I do my ranking. My second goal this year was to read 4 authors that I had never read before. And because I read so many books, there were many books that were written by dual authors. So I'm actually just going to count the books because it's easier, because I had a couple of short story collections and some novels that were written by more than one author. So yeah, it's just easier to count the books. So I read 22 books by authors that I'd never read before, and that does include The Arabian Nights, which I do not know the author that wrote it. 22, and I wanted 4. So again, completely annihilated that goal. However, when I had made my goal video for the year, I had listed a few authors that I wanted to read, and I didn't get to them. Some of the authors that I had listed at the beginning of the year was that I wanted to read Daphne du Maurier, Thomas Hardy, and either Anne or Charlotte Bronte. And I mean, I'm reading Anne now, but this doesn't count for this year because I'm not done. So yeah, I didn't read Daphne du Maurier and I didn't read Thomas Hardy, but I read other authors, so it's still a win, but I kind of failed on the ones I said I was going to read, so whatever. My last official goal for the year was I had made a video a while back of movies that I've seen, but I hadn't read the book yet, and so I wanted to read 2 of the books off of that video, TBR. The idea of this goal was to help me reach my other goals, because these books should be easy, right? Because I should know what's going to happen because I've already seen the movie. So I had listed 5 books that I was considering for this, and I needed to read 2. And I actually read 3. So again, woo, we did it. The 3 that I read was The Arabian Nights, The Princess Bride, and A Little Princess. And then I had a not official goal, kind of like a bonus goal. Like I didn't actually set this as like a strict goal, but I didn't really want to read as many rereads this year because last year I read quite a few, and I love rereading books. There's nothing wrong with that, but I wanted to read some new stuff, not just stick with all the rereads. So I wanted to read less than 3 rereads, preferably. And I did that. I only had one. That was Macbeth. I reread Macbeth, and I had to do that because it was for class. So, again, hitting the goals across the board. I am so happy with how this year has turned out. It was awesome. I didn't hate any of the books that I read this year. So, I definitely had some that I loved way more than others, but I didn't hate any of them. Now we're going to get into the Goodreads stats. I know some people don't like Goodreads, but I use it and it's fun. They give you these stats at the end of the year, and I'm just going to let you know what mine were. So, the total pages that I read this year was 9,331 pages, and that was, again, for the 32 books that I read. The shortest book that I read was A Cafecito Story, El Cuento del Cafecito, which was 80 pages. The longest book that I read was The Arabian Nights, which was 736 pages. The average book length that I had for the year was 291 pages. The book that I read that has been shelved the most on Goodreads by other people was The Great Gatsby, and that has been shelved 7,433,503 times. And then the least shelved book was They Call Her Fregona, a Border Kids Poems, which has only been shelved by 445 people. So, yes, overall, I am super happy with all of the books that I read this year. And now we're going to get into the ranking. That's what everyone cares about, right? So we're going to get into the ranking, and I really am not going to say very much about these books because we have a lot to get through, and there are book reviews on my channel for every book except for 3 of them. So for the 3 that I don't have the book reviews up yet, I maybe will say a little bit more for those, but for all the other ones, you can go look at my book reviews if you want to know why I feel the way I feel, why it's ranked where it's ranked, etc., etc. So, like I said again, I didn't hate any books that I read this year, but unfortunately, something has to come in last, and that one is going to be Indian No More, which is by Charlene Willing McManus with Tracy Sorrell. I didn't hate this book. It just wasn't really for my age group, and there was some editing issues that I just didn't vibe with. So, I mean, the story itself was good. I just am nitpicky. And so that stuff took me out of the story a bit. And so, yeah, that's why this is my lowest rank of the year. Coming in at number 31 is They Call Her Fregona, a Border Kids Poems, which is by David Bowles. In spot 30, we have Maisie Chen's Last Chance by Lisa Yee. Number 29 is Seen and Unseen, What Dorothea Lange, Toyo Miyazaki, and Ansel Adams photographs reveal about the Japanese-American incarceration, which is by Elizabeth Partridge and Lauren Tamaki. Number 28 is Class Act, which is by Jerry Craft. 27 is Akata Woman, which is by Nnedi Okorafor. Number 26 is People Kill People by Ellen Hopkins. I don't have the review up for this one yet, so this will be coming after the new year. This book I enjoyed reading. Enjoy sounds like the wrong word. It kept me on my toes. It was very different than what I was expecting, and so that might be why it isn't ranking as high as some other books, because I went in expecting one thing and I got something else, but it was still very well written and I did get enjoyment out of it. Enjoy sounds like the wrong word if you've read this book, but there will be a review coming for it soon. Number 25, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy. Number 24 is School Trip by Jerry Craft. And Jerry Craft actually commented on my video review of this, so I was like, was so excited when I saw that. I couldn't believe it. Could not believe an author actually found my small little channel. And then 23 is New Kid, also by Jerry Craft. 22 is A Cafecito Story, El Cuento del Cafecito, which is by Julia Alvarez, or Julia Alvarez. I'm not sure how she pronounces her name. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced anybody else's name in this video. My bad. I'm trying my best. 21 is They Call Me Güero, A Border Kids Poems by David Bowles. Number 20 is The Arabian Nights, and we do not know who wrote this. It's probably a collection of authors over a period of time. I do not have the review out for this one yet, but it will be coming. Number 19, A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. 18 is Ancestor Approved Intertribal Stories for Kids. This is by a collection of authors, but it was edited by Cynthia Letitch Smith. 17 is The Last Map Maker, which is by Christina Soontorn-Vaught. Then for 16, we have The Swan Book by Alexis Wright. This was definitely my most challenging read of the year, but just because it was challenging doesn't mean it was my least favorite. I actually enjoyed this book, even though it made me feel really dumb. Check out the review for this. I urge you to, and you will understand what I'm talking about. Maybe. 15 is Zenobia July by Lisa Bunker. 14 is A Small Place, which is by Jamaica Kincaid. 13 is They Called Us Enemy, which is written by George Takei, Justin Eisinger, and Stephen Scott. 12 is Little Men by Louisa May Alcott. 11 is Free Lunch, which is by Rex Ogle. Now we're to my top 10. Number 10 is Free Water, which is by Amina Lukman Dawson. Number 9 is Akata Witch by Nnedi Okorafor. The number 8 is Akata Warrior, also by Nnedi Okorafor. Number 7 is Gun Island, which is by Amitav Ghosh. Coming in at number 6 is Macbeth by William Shakespeare. All right, you guys, my top 5. Number 5 is Oil on Water by Helen Havila. Number 4 is Joe's Boys by Louisa May Alcott. Okay, my top 3 were so hard to choose because these 3 books I loved so much. They were easily my favorite reads of the year. They were so good. But they have to come in some order, right? So this was so close. But number 3 is A Princess Bride, S. Morgenstern's classic tale of true love and high adventure, which is written by William Goldman. Loved, loved, loved this. I do not have the review out for this one yet. It will be coming. Trust me, I'm going to rave. I am going to rave about this. Then these last 2, seriously, it was so hard to pick, but number 2 is House of Many Gods by Kiana Davenport. I adored this book. I was obsessed with this book. Go check out my review for it, please. It is amazing. You have to read this book. And then number 1, which sounds almost cliche because it seems like everybody would say this, but number 1 is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I never read this for class. Like, everybody always reads this in high school. I never did. And I read this year, and oh my gosh, it just took me on such a ride, and I could not stop thinking about it, and I loved this book. This is my top book of the year. By a slim margin, because I loved these other 2 books, but this was my top book of the year. Check out my review for it if you haven't. So those were the 32 books that I read in 2023. I had such a good reading year. I hope your guys' reading years were as awesome as mine were. If they weren't, that's okay too. There's always next year. So drop in the comments. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I read this year and what you thought of them. Let me know your top book of the year. Does it compete with The Great Gatsby? Let me know. I want arguments. I want arguments if you are going to challenge that. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year. I will see you guys next Monday on New Year's Day. Again, Merry Christmas. And thanks for all of your support throughout the year. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for talking books with me.